What I mean by more information isn't necessarily better is that, remember, she took that MRI and she plugged the impression, she copy and pasted that into ChatGPT, and she relied on ChatGPT to spit out what it saw going on from that impression and give it to her in a language that she could understand. Well, one, it was definitely in medical jargon. It was extremely difficult to understand on her end, so she was like, hey, what can you tell me about this report? Which wasn't really helpful, but the lack of personalization that came from that report is kind of alarming. And what it showed in that report is that in a couple levels of her spine, it said moderate to severe changes, degenerative changes, or spondylosis, which just means arthritis in the general terms, like moderate to severe. Well, that moderate to severe changes in her back, she didn't have moderate to severe pain. She was actually pretty low. And so what ChatGPT labeled as moderate to severe didn't match what she was feeling. And so she was a little confused of saying, hey, I have these advanced changes in my back, even though I don't have advanced or high levels of pain. Like, what's going on here? Well, the ChatGPT and the image, it doesn't have the personalization that we need. The personalization comes from actually doing the physical exam, right? That's the only way that we can tell, okay, you have moderate to severe changes in your back, but you've probably had those for a long period of time, and you haven't had this level of pain for a long period of time. So the ChatGPT and the more information that it provided just further added to the disconnect between what she was feeling and what the MRI showed. And I see that all the time. That's why I highly recommend, if you do get an MRI, you need to sit down with somebody that's taking a look at your body and see if there's a match there. But that disconnect, it just leads to more confusion. So more information, more disconnect, and more confusion. It just led to that patient feeling even more uneasy about their day, how they were feeling. Because what I don't like is you think that patient's gonna have a more positive outlook on their future if they're labeled as moderate severe.